Chicago Cubs News Today.
You ever get the feeling that we're always one step behind? Like the second the Cubs finally start winning, the front office is already thinking about tearing the team apart. Well, the next bombshell just leaked. Jake Reynolds here, and you need to hear this. I'm tired, guys. Seriously tired of watching this same cycle repeat itself. The Cubs win 8 straight games, take control of the division, and then Jed Hoyer starts working the phones, trying to trade prospects for a 31-year-old pitcher who's spent the last 3 seasons getting lit up, Sandy Alcantara. A 5.36 ERA in 2025. 7 runs allowed in 4 innings last week. And now we're supposed to send Jonathan Long and Pedro Ramirez to Miami for that. I want to believe in this move, but honestly, it feels like this organization never learns. The report dropped earlier today. Douglas Fritz detailed what's being called the ideal Cubs trade package with the Marlins. Matthew Boyd just landed on the injured list and is expected to miss at least a month. Chicago needs an experienced arm to stabilize the rotation while leading the NL Central with 25 wins and 12 losses. The proposed plan: send 2 promising prospects, Jonathan Long, a first baseman who's basically major league ready, and Pedro Ramirez, a versatile infielder with speed, in exchange for Sandy Alcantara, a pitcher who led the National League with 8 WAR back in 2022, but hasn't looked like the same guy since. Do you guys remember the 2022 version of Alcantara? Cy Young winner, 2.28 ERA. The guy was dominant, an absolute workhorse. But what happened after that? He struggled badly in 2023, missed all of 2024 because of injuries, and 2025 has been a complete disaster. So now the Cubs are supposed to bet on that version coming back. Does that honestly make sense to anybody? Because I'm trying to understand the logic here, and I can't find it. What do you guys think? Let's talk numbers, because numbers don't lie. Jonathan Long has excellent plate discipline, hits to all fields consistently, and has above-average raw power. MLB.com already described him as major league ready. The problem is Chicago doesn't really have room for him in the everyday lineup. First base is already taken, so he becomes trade bait. Pedro Ramirez is a switch hitter who stole 28 bases in 2025, has decent arm strength, and can play second or third base. 2 young players with legitimate futures. Now look at the other side of the deal. Sandy Alcantara is a veteran with 9 years of MLB experience. In 2022, he was one of the best pitchers in baseball. Since then, a 5.36 ERA, declining velocity on the fastball, and he just got crushed by the Orioles 3 days ago. 7 earned runs allowed in 4 1/3 innings. That's the guy who's supposed to save this rotation. The numbers say otherwise. And here's the part nobody's talking about. Alcantara is under contract through 27 on a massive salary. If he never returns to that 2022 form, the Cubs are stuck paying a declining pitcher for 2 more seasons. And you know what? At least Jackson Wiggins isn't included in these talks. The front office got that part right. But are Long and Ramirez really worth giving up for this kind of gamble? Anybody else feel the same way? If this trade happens, Chicago is pushing all of its chips to the center of the table on a veteran trying to resurrect his career. The risk is enormous. Matthew Boyd should be back in about a month, but until then the rotation has to survive. Justin Steele has basically been carrying the pitching staff. Jameson Taillon has been inconsistent, and the bullpen has already shown signs of cracking. Adding Alcantara could stabilize things for a while, or it could completely blow up in Jed Hoyer's face if the struggles continue. Meanwhile, Miami would be getting 2 young players with real upside. Long could become an everyday first baseman for years. Ramirez brings defensive versatility and speed on the bases. The Marlins, who are sinking in the standings, would gain long-term pieces while unloading a huge contract. That sounds like a perfect scenario for them, and a massive risk for the Cubs. Look, I understand the urgency. The Cubs are leading the division, injuries are starting to pile up, and the team needs help. But not like this. Not out of panic. The 2022 version of Alcantara was elite, no doubt about it. But that was 3 years ago. 3 years of injuries, regression, and getting hit hard. Did this front office learn nothing from Jason Hayward? From losing Yu Darvish? From every single time they bet on a big name, instead of paying attention to the numbers? I want the Cubs to go after a reliable arm, not another nostalgia-driven gamble. And Cubs fans, make sure to hit that like button, because it really helps the channel continue bringing honest content like this. The clock is ticking, guys. The trade deadline is getting closer every day. The Cubs are sitting at 25-12, leading the division by 3.5 games. But if this rotation collapses, that lead could disappear in 2 weeks. Craig Counsell knows it. The front office knows it. The pressure is very real. So the question becomes, are the Cubs going to act intelligently or desperately? Because this trade feels desperate. Jesse Rogers from ESPN recently talked about how deep this Cubs roster really is. Pete Crow Armstrong, batting ninth, says everything you need to know about the lineup depth. Every player on the 26-man roster is contributing. The offense is rolling, and those 3 straight walk-off wins against the Reds proved it. But pitching wins in October. And now the Cubs suddenly have problems. Matthew Boyd is hurt, the rotation looks exposed, and the bullpen has been shaky. Jed Hoyer absolutely needs to make a move. The real question is whether this is the right move. Alcantara still carries the reputation, the experience, and the shine from that incredible 2022 season. But he also carries 3 straight years of disappointment. Major League Baseball doesn't reward teams for being sentimental. Trading 2 strong prospects for a declining pitcher could damage not only the 2026 season, but the future as well. Miami is selling, but that doesn't mean Chicago needs to overpay. I'll say it clearly, I would not make this trade, not the way it's currently structured. If this were the 2022 version of Sandy Alcantara, absolutely, no hesitation. But it's not. And the Cubs can't keep living off what if. Jonathan Long and Pedro Ramirez have real value, real futures. Throwing that away for another risky gamble that could fail all over again. I can't justify it. Yes, I want the Cubs to win right now. Of course I do. But I also want this organization to build something sustainable, something that doesn't need to be rebuilt every 3 years. Cubs fans deserve better. We deserve a front office that actually learns from past mistakes. And this move, it feels exactly like the kind of mistake this franchise has already made before. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Would you make this trade? Is Sandy Alcantara worth giving up 2 major prospects? Or is this just another Jed Hoyer trap? The fan base needs to speak up, because at the end of the day, we're the ones who bleed blue. When you change, it is time. See, go Cubs go.